here today. Y'all remember when I broke my hand? I came up and told you this big cowboy story about the horse that broke my hand, and I omitted the part that it was a miniature horse. Yeah, okay. But I'm not going to do that. This morning, I had it all worked out. I walked in here, and I had a hitch in my get up, and I kind of. Michelle said, "Why are you limping?" Automatically, pow! Well, I went to a ranch rodeo yesterday, and I, kind of sore day. And I couldn't let it go. She said, "Did you compete?" I said, "Well, actually, no, I just showed somebody where it was." And then I came back home and started driving a tiller for my wife. So I'm a little sore. But anyway, so those are cowboy stories for today. I got a poem for you. Spurs on his boots. I know Spurs wore them out today. Spurs on his boots, they never left his heels. He said they're there for a purpose, not for cheap thrills. Spurs, they're tools to be used as tools should be. Like an axe or a saw when fell in a tree. You see, some colts are timid, unsure of their worth, and must be encouraged to accomplish the work. So I'll give them some iron. A tickle, not much. And if that ain't enough, I'll give them a touch. And if they're still not convinced to step up to their part, I turn my toes outward and try piercing their heart. Now I know this is right because I read it one day in Hebrews 10 in the Bible. You can't find the way. To use spurs as a tool and kind of act like a coach. All the more harder as the last days approach. Now Mike Morrow, he said, hell's hot and half full. I heard it there at a Cowboy church school. So we need to use iron on friends, family, and foes. Sink spur into flesh. Pull on their nose. Make them swap ends when they're heading astray. Make sure that they know Christ is the light and the way. So read in the Bible, the spurs are a tool. And use it to explain hell's hot and half full. Now, Mike Morrow's a real good friend of mine, and he uses that term, and I kind of stole it from him, borrowed it, whatever you want to say. You can call it plagiarism, but I always give him the credit. It's kind of neat when you think about it. And, I went out there, and this thing keeps cutting out. I went out there, and I showed some folks where the ranch rodeo was at, and I saw a few friends of mine, shook their hand, talked to them, and everybody was wearing spurs. Did you see anybody not wearing spurs? No, everybody. Of course, out that way, most of them make their living with spurs on their heels. You know what I mean? So it's really neat when you talk to them, and the spurs kind of there, like the heel of the boots there. They don't ever realize it, don't ever notice it. Matter of fact, I went to one of my uncle's funeral, and a bunch of my family showed up to the church, and they're all wearing hooks on their heels. Of course, there's the traditional church, and the preacher was like, "Carpet!" And guys were like, "What?" "Oh, okay, they're all right." But this is something they use all the time. Now, when you talk about spurs, there's a whole lot of different kinds. I'm wearing my working spurs right now. But my wife and I have actually his and hers roping spurs. Yeah? I used to wear these all the time. And I noticed that when I used them, a horse can feel a fly on the side. I said that last week. A horse can feel a fly on the side, so you don't have to do a whole lot, right? But when I needed them, and I really wanted to talk to them, use the twin turbos, as I call them, these wasn't doing the trick, so I switched on to these little bigger rowel, filed down a little sharp notch. I got a real bigger rowel, and very rarely ever touch a horse with them. But when you need them, what is it old Woodrow Call said? It's better to have it and not need it than it is to need it and not have it. So, we have the his and hers roping spurs. These are all weight for straps. And I can't tool leather very good, so my wife is going to be making straps. Not only that, we have his and hers church spurs. Yeah, Sunday spurs. You remember the Alfredo at your concert? That's when I bought these.
Is that right?
Yeah. PJ had bought these for me a long time ago, and she's going to be making my spur straps.
That's good looking.
A long time ago. So, not like she has anything to do, right? So, anyway, she keeps saying, well, I like those spurs, I'm going to get me some. Well, I found some at a concert he was doing up at El Dorado, and I bought them for her. Yeah, I'm wanting to trade her, but she won't do it. Anyway, there's a lot of different kinds of spurs, different colors, different styles. You can get the old big California rowels on them if you want. You can get, a friend of mine wears what he calls rock grinders. It's kind of had a long shank on it, and they're ugly. when you get in the horse's guts, you can really get in them, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, he's an aggressive rider. He's a cutter. So he had to go home and take a chop saw and shorten the shank a little bit. But there's spurs, all different flavors, all different kinds, all different ways. By the way, in the Bible, in Hebrews 10, and we're going to go with 23, Hebrews 10:23 is where I'm going to be at. Spurring each other on. There are different ways to do so. Different ways that it has to be done. Just to let you know, I wasn't lying in the poem. It says, let us hold unswavering to the hope we profess. For he who promised us faithful, who he promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur each other on toward love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the days approaching. I didn't lie, it's in there. Spurs are in there, so is a bridle. I'll get to that at another time. But, all goes to show you God's a cowboy. Anyway, so here it is. Spurring each other on. Now, when PJ and I was dating, as with most couples who are dating, have a falling out, well, just go our own ways, by golly. And God talks to PJ and he says, look, this is the man I have picked out for you. So, you need to, forget all this nonsense and you need to go back to it. And then God told me, Jay, this is the woman that I have picked out for you. You need to forget all this nonsense, swallow your pride, and go back to her. Y'all probably remember this. And I said, I don't think so. So then God says, okay, let me apply a little bit of pressure. He hits me with a car. Boom! Totals out my car, gives me a concussion. And I said, okay, I got it. I proposed that night. Now, that's my out. I can always say, hey, when I proposed to you, I had a concussion. I pulled that card once, actually. She wasn't impressed with that. Hence the reason I wear long sleeves all the time. I have to cover the bruises of it. No, I'm joking. But God talks to us in different ways. God has to apply more pressure to some than others. I have a colt that I ride. She's not a colt anymore. I have a mare that I ride who I cannot remember a single time where she's actually bowed her back up and bluffed. And going along with that, I can only remember once that I ever touched her with a spur. And the reason I touched her with a spur is because if I don't own her for the rest of her life, one day, sometime, somewhere, somehow, someone is going to hit her with a spur. And I don't want her to grow up to be a very large, mature mare. Someone hit her with a little bit of iron and she goes straight up in the air and hurt somebody. So I hit her with spurs once. And she went, which is good. I like that. I rode another horse. This was back when I was young and a little more durable. I rode a horse that we affectionately called Launchpad. And the ranch I was working on, they used to nickname me Rocket. And the reason is, this horse was beautiful. You get out there, boy, you could get out there, just get into a lope, and just trying to start throttling that back, and keep her in that lope, and she's almost loped right in one place, right under you. Just like riding on rails. Man, I like this. And I rode her once. I rode her probably 4 hours. Just, we were gathering some cattle, and I was supposedly training her, gathering cattle and just doing some just cowboy work, and I rode her for 4 hours one day. Somewhere along in there, I'm not going to say exactly 4, but it was a long time. And I relaxed. Right there at the end of the day, I kind of relaxed and settled in and with a slow push. That girl broke smooth in two. Here I went. And everybody's laughing. Somebody runs up, catches the horse, and brings it back to me. When you relax, she feels that she's going to launch you. Okay? Yes, I had to wear spurs with her. And it wasn't because I wanted to be mean to her. It was self-preservation. When she broke in two, you had to hook in and get her so you could hang on. Spur each other on. Now, I call these my twin turbos. Very rarely do I have to use them. Because, if you've got a good rapport with the horse, and you give them a command and kind of adjust your body language, they take off. Trust me. I got one from him that ain't nothing but throttle. She was a barrel horse. And she ain't got nothing. She has 2 speeds. Stop and eat and go fast. So, anyway, don't have to use spurs. You just adjust your body language and she goes. I've got horses I've got a mare that I can take. I can take that baby right over there. I can put on her back. And you could not push her. With a pickup, you can't push her. She's going to stand in one spot. I've taken Kirsten, throw it up on her back, put her in a round pen, and I've got some work done. And when I come back, she walks like this. All the time, Kirsten's going, ha, 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 ha. You cannot push this mare faster than a walk with a baby on her back. Now Kirsten's got a little experience under her belt, and she can get her moved. Spurring one another on. If I put Kirsten on that bug, Kirsten wouldn't have to do nothing to hold on. Put Kirsten on this other mare, Trinity. Now she got to actually get the saddle string and get after her. Then she'll move, but she still don't move very fast. Different levels of encouragement. Different levels of encouragement. Some people you meet on the street, you walk up and say, hey, man, you ought to come to church with us. I don't think so. Well, you can get a free breakfast. Oh, really? Okay. Some people, you just say, man, you ought to come to church with us. We got some awesome music up there. Really? Different levels of encouragement. Some people can care less about the music, which I don't know if anybody can. Some people can care less about the music. They like the breakfast. Okay? Some people can care less about the breakfast, but they like the music. What kind of spurs do you use? All right. I am not a farmer. I was raised on a black dirt farm north of Paris, Texas. I vowed never to go back and do that again. I did not like being on the business end of a chopping hole. And we planted like 7 acres and I didn't like it. Well, I married a woman who is a master gardener. As my sister said one time, you married our grandmother. Because she's going to plant a garden. Now, you can see that I am a little reluctant to go out in the garden and work. She knows the buttons to push so that I will push a tiller. Okay? It has something to do with food. I can tell you that now. She knows how to encourage me. How do we encourage each other? Austin encourages us with his music. I'm a sucker for something to make it last, which is, by the way, the first song I ever heard him sing on the radio. I'm a sucker for something made to last. He encourages the River Stone. Encourages the story about a cowboy on a horse. Several cowboys on a horse, but he encourages us through his music to follow God. Get in the Bible. Get it done. I encourage people by talking. I'm really good at talking. I like to talk. I love to hear myself at it.
We love to hear it too.
Shocking, huh?
We love it.
I try to do it through singing, and everybody says, you're a preacher. I encourage comedy. I love to tell jokes. I love being upbeat about things. That's the way I can encourage folks. I sure ain't good at my voice, my singing voice. There are other people who encourage us just by their daily walk. I can tell you right now, when I first came back to the Lord, and I started going to a church, I was going to my dad's church, and then I got out and started going to a Cowboy church. It was in Fairleigh, Texas. And there's a man and woman in our church right now who I try to emulate. Because when I looked at them, I said, okay, that is a Christian. You remember when I started studying? That is the guy I would like to be like. And he follows God. You never hear him say a cross word. I've never heard him say a cross word. He takes care of his family. And I mean, when he takes care of his family, ask Jeanette how many times she's had to fill up the tank in her car. He dotes on her. He loves her. That's what I wanted to be like. As I grow and I get to be a stronger Christian, I see others right here in this church. And I said, man, that's the way I want to be when I grow up. Which I'm not going to grow up, by the way. It's a cowboy thing. I'll grow old, never grow up. But all these things, when you see people, you want to be like them. I want to be like him because he's strong. He knows. I won't go up there. There are a dozen men right here I will go up to and I will try to, I can tell them something in the Bible that's, not quite, you can take anything in the Bible and twist it around. And I can try that on them. I guarantee you, they'll say, no, that ain't what it says. And I can be convincing, and I can try to convince them. No, let's look at it, the whole thing. Let's look at the whole scripture here. You cannot budge their conviction. It's guys like this that spur me on to be a better Christian. There's women the same way that encourage me. And there's God who throws cars at me. But different spurs are needed for different people. I happen to know that, I remember in this church we had one person who was needing someone to talk to him, be firm and give some guidance. And I look around and some of the guys are gone, but I see two that are here still, three. That the night that the guy was kind of needing some guidance, they sat by him. Wasn't rude, wasn't harsh, in love, came by and said, "Listen, guy, you're stepping all over your tongue. Why don't you sit down and let's cool our jets and think about what we're doing." They didn't cause him to leave. They didn't tell him to get out. They turned their toes out a little bit, gave him a little tickle, and said, "Hey, God's watching you, You sit down here." Why? Because that's the amount of encouragement that he needed. Now, encourage each other. Now, don't forsake the gathering of yourselves together, as some people do. Why? Because if you don't get around other Christian folks, you cannot get the encouragement that they can give you. If you don't gather around other Christian folks, it's going to be easy for the devil to get in there and say, "You know what, you don't need all that. You don't need all that. You can worship God out on the lake, throwing a line in the water." You're right, I sure can. The problem is when guys do that, I'm a guy, I know. When guys say, "Well, I worship out on the lake." My dad used to always say, "Do you?"
Right.
Well, yeah. No, come on, be honest. And you don't have to listen to a sermon. You don't have to listen to the music. But when you fellowship with God's people, that's how you get. What was it? I said that one time in a sermon. You get immersed in the Word. Remember the pickling sermon?
Yes.
Get immersed in the Word. Pickled in the Spirit. Not with spirits. In the Spirit. Folks, encouragement. Those spurs that we talked about. Some of us just need a little blunt something to, hey, remember God loves you. Remember God loves you. And some of us need a big Spanish rally going, "Hey! Wake up, you idiot!" Folks, God told Joshua way back when he first got his people from Egypt, took them through the desert 40 years. Moses died. Joshua won. God said, "Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land that I swore to their forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it the right or the left. You may be successful wherever you go." All right, I give. Got to make sure I'm on the right verse too. And I would. All right. In 3, he said, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river to the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the great sea on the west. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life, as I am with you. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave nor forsake you. All right. Never leave or forsake you. Did he say, I'm not going to leave you unless you do this or that? He even told them when they were really stepping on it, and he told them in the book of Judges and in the book of Kings, look, I'm not leaving you, but I'm going to let somebody else teach you a lesson. And in Judges, you can read it. I love the book of Judges. It was like bipolar. It was, okay, we are with God, strong. And they were a strong country. Oh, wait. Oh, I guess you can get bipolar, like ADD, I guess. It's great. What's that? And then they go over here, and they go, boom, and they crash down. And they're enslaved. That was those big Spanish rivals I was talking about. And they're enslaved. And then they say, oh, Lord, help us. Please. And God takes them back and says, all right, come on. Now. And they're back up here again. And they're strong. See? You cannot say that God ever left them. They left God every once in a while. God never left or forsook them. Never left them alone. And Joshua, back in 24, I'm just going to do this in my heart. I can't do the glasses thing. Joshua, in the 24th chapter, he got all of Israel together. Said, all right, listen up. You got to make a decision. You make a decision. Are you going to follow the gods of Egypt? Are you going to follow the gods of the Canaanites? Or are you going to follow the only God that's actually alive? All right? Now, if you choose to follow them, okay, you go right ahead. And what did he say? As for me and my family, we'll serve the Lord. I don't give a rose donkey who you. He's talking to them. I'm not pointing at you. I'm talking about, he was telling you, I don't give a rose donkey who you serve. I'm serving the Lord because I know he carried me through a desert. 40 years of desert living. He gave us holy manna from heaven when we were hungry. And when we got tired of that, he gave us quail. We just walked out there and picked them up. He parted a sea. He parted a river. Come on. I'm following God. All the encouragement in the world is not going to help unless the one receiving the encouragement listens. Remember Launchpad? Never listened. Never, ever listened. And as far as I know, he is a saddle bronc horse right now today. Because he never listened. He loves to buck. He's going to have a short life. Most of the saddle broncs are not very long lived, or not very long in the career. He's going to have a short career life. And it's going to go like a rocket and then hit a wall.